Hey, it's Dan Morales. This is Homebuyer Radio. This is episode number 83. Hey, this week I wanted to talk about something I just ran into with a client. Had a client who was pre-approved with us and was actually referred to us from their realtor, and they ended up writing an offer on a property with the listing agent who had the property listed, not the realtor that they had been working with. Now, in some states, here in Michigan, we have what's called a buyer's agency, which means that the buyer, if you will, is contracting with their realtor to represent them for the purchase of the house that they're going to be making. Okay. Now, what happened in this case was the buyer had gone through a builder's open house, if you will, and the builder's agent basically pressured them into writing an offer on the property. Okay, the builder's agent didn't realize that they had a buyer's agency with the other agent, and so long story short, the buyer ended up putting in an offer into this property and did it in the process of doing it, violated the terms of the contract that they had with the realtor who was working as their buyer's agent. Now, why would you hire a realtor as a buyer's agent? We talked about this in a previous episode. If you don't have, let's say, some kind of a contractual agreement with your buyer's agent or the agent that's representing you, then by default the realtor works for the seller. Okay, even though they're showing you different houses and so on, by default they work for the seller in that case. Okay. So what happens in this scenario is now you have a client who has written an offer with the builder's realtor, or if you will, agent, and then he also has a contractual obligation to the realtor that he has been working with as a buyer's agent. Now, of course, he didn't, understand the kind of conundrum or mess that they created in this process. And of course, now all of a sudden, you have to try to undo this. Well, fortunately for him, in his case, that transaction did not end up coming together. But had it come together, he would have been, let's say, obligated to buy the house, and he could have potentially been obligated to pay a commission to the realtor who was working with him as a buyer's agent. And that commission could have been one that he might have had to have paid potentially out of his own pocket. So here's the deal. When you have a buyer's agent, and I do think a buyer's agent is actually a really good idea, because you want a realtor that has a fiduciary interest and a responsibility in protecting your best interest. So I think that's a good idea. But here's the deal. If you want to look at properties, or you're going to look at properties and you're going to potentially put an offer on a property, you need to work with your buyer's agent. Let your buyer's agent take the lead and kind of, drive the bus, if you will, because it's their job to protect you and to make sure everything is done correctly and you don't find yourself in a conundrum like this person almost did. Okay, so you can avoid a lot of that stuff just by letting your buyer's agent take the lead. Just make sure your buyer's agent's contract is one that makes sense to you. You understand it, and that you didn't commit yourself to something that you shouldn't have. Okay, there's never anything wrong with asking questions as part of this process. I always tell people, make sure you ask questions, make sure you understand stuff, make sure you read stuff, make sure you've taken your time to be educated about this process so that you can have a successful home buying process and you don't find yourself in a jam that was totally avoidable. Hey, my name is Dan Morales. This is Homebuyer Radio. Do me a favor, go on iTunes and write a review for us. Share this with friends and family who are in the process of getting ready to buy a house. We are growing an audience nationwide, and I love it. I get a lot of information, or I should say contact, from folks throughout the country, and we've had the opportunity to help several of you buy homes. That's why we do this. We do this because we want to be able to help you as you get ready to buy a house. We want to be able to be that person that provides the mortgage to you if you need one. Okay. Now, we lend in most of the 50 states. Now, we don't lend, we don't do all products in all of the 50 states, but we do offer some products in most of the 50 states, and we can, typically help most of the clients that we run into. As far as at least being able to find an option that could be viable for them. Again, my name is Dan Morales. My NMLS number is 709729. You can reach me at 616-931-4629. You can find me online at danmorales.com. That's DANMORALEZ.com. And of course, North Point Bank is an equal housing lender.